Hello everyone. So today we are going to be learning about this chapter, A Face in the Dark by Ruskin Bond. And I will just tell you the short gist of this chapter and some important themes that are related to it. This chapter is very short and it is written in very simple English. So there should not be any difficulty in understanding from the text. Okay. So our protagonist of this story here is Mr. Oliver. He is an Anglo-Indian teacher and he was returning to his school late one night on the outskirts of the hill station of Shimla. So our hero, or let's say our protagonist, he is returning to his school late, which is on the outskirts of the hill station of Shimla. From before Kipling's time, the school had been run on English public school lines, and the boys, most of them from wealthy Indian families, wore blazers, caps, and ties. So the students who used to study in the school where Mr. Oliver used to work, they belonged from wealthy Indian families, and their uniforms included blazers, caps, and ties. Once, this magazine called Life magazine, it had called this school Eton of the East. And Mr. Oliver had been teaching in this school for quite a many years. The Shimla Bazaar, with its cinemas, restaurants, was about 3 miles from the school, and Mr. Oliver, a bachelor, usually strolled into town in the evening, returning after dark when he would take a shortcut through the forest. So, our protagonist, Mr. Oliver, he used to take a walk into the town in the evening and he used to return back when it got dark and he would follow a shortcut through the pine forest. Whenever there was a strong wind, the pine trees made sad, eerie sounds that kept most people to the main road. So here we get a hint uh, of the paranormal experience that is about to happen to our protagonist, Mr. Oliver. So here the author has made a setting, a haunted setting, by saying that the strong wind, which whenever blew through the pine trees, it made ghostly sounds, sad, eerie sounds. And due to this, most of the people always walked on the main road. But Mr. Oliver, he was not a superstitious man, he did not believe in ghosts, and he was also courageous. So he carried a torch, and in the light of the torch, the sad thing is the battery of the torch was low, but still our Mr. Oliver, he moved through the narrow forest path. He was a brave man and he did not believe in any superstition. The flickering means about to die, meaning that the light of the torch was about to get over because the batteries were nearly over. So the light fell on the figure of a boy, and the boy was sitting alone on a rock. Mr. Oliver stopped. He stopped walking when he saw the figure of a boy who was sitting on a rock. He knew that boys are not supposed to be out after dark. So he asked the boy that what are you doing out here in the dark in the pine forest so late? What are you doing here? So Mr. Oliver asked the boy, what are you doing out here, boy? And he moved closer to the boy so he could recognize who the miscreant was. Miscreant meaning a child who has performed a mischief. So it is called miscreant. But when he approached the boy, Mr. Oliver sensed that it was his gut feeling that told him that maybe something is wrong. It was his gut feeling that told him. The boy appeared to be crying, his head hung down, and the boy hid his face in his hand, and his body shook convulsively, meaning that while he was crying, he was shaking violently. And we see another aspect of the horror element, that the strange soundless weeping. See, here it is said that the boy appeared to be crying, because while crying people make sounds, but this boy, he was not making any sound. He just hid his face with his hand, so it only appeared that he was crying, and his crying was silent, soundless. So that made Oliver feel uneasy. But still, he was not scared. But it only made him uneasy. He asked the boy, "What is the matter, and what are you crying?" Now, the anger of Mr. Oliver turned into concern. He was concerned for the boy. The boy did not want to look up, and his body continued to shake with silent crying, silent sobbing. "Come on, boy, you shouldn't be out here at this hour. Tell me the trouble. Look up." So Mr. Oliver persisted, and he told the boy to look up and to tell him of his troubles. That what was he doing here out in the forest in the middle of the night? The boy looked up. He took his hands from his face and looked up at his teacher. So he removed his hands from his face and looked at his teacher. And the light from Mr. Oliver's torch fell on the boy's face, if you could call it a face. And when the light from Mr. Oliver's torch fell on the boy, he saw it had no eyes, ears, nose, or mouth. It was just a round, smooth head with a school cap on top of it. And generally, whenever there is a ghost or something like a supernatural element, the person who discovers the ghost generally lands in trouble. So it is said that that when he discovered that such a strange incident has occurred to him, such a strange phenomenon, it is said that, and the story should have ended right here, but for Mr. Oliver it did not. The torch fell from his hand and he ran. He ran blindly through the trees, calling for help. He was still running towards the school buildings when he saw a lantern swinging in the middle of the path. So he was running towards his school and he saw that a lantern was swinging in the middle of the path. Mr. Oliver, he knew that a lantern swinging, it means that it is the watchman. So he approached the watchman, and the watchman asked Mr. Oliver that, "What is it, Shai? What has happened? Has there been any accident? Why are you running?" Mr. Oliver says, "I saw something horrible. A boy weeping in the forest, and he had no face." So Mr. Oliver recounts and tells the watchman of the incident that happened to him. And the watchman says, "No face, Shai. No eyes, nose, mouth, no eyes, nose, mouth, nothing." And then he says, the watchman, "Do you mean it was like this, Shai?" Asks the watchman and raised the lamp to his own face. So he asks Mr. Oliver that the the that the face that you saw in the woods, was it like this? And then he held the lantern to his own mouth, sorry, to his own face, and just like the case of the boy, Mr. Oliver saw that the watchman, he did not have any eyes, ears, no features at all, nothing on the face, just like the boy, not even an eyebrow. And that's when the wind blew the lamp out. So here we have a suspenseful ending, and our author, Ruskin Bond, he leaves the readers to imagine what could have happened to Mr. Oliver. So this is how the story ends, and the fate of Mr. Oliver, it depends on our imagination.